Game week 18 is pretty much over now, which means it's time to look ahead, and here are players to buy and avoid for game week 19. So I'm going to start things off then with pretty much the best asset in FPL at the moment, in my opinion. Off the back of a hat-trick against Nottingham Forest, it is, of course, Dominic Solanke. Now, I imagine most players watching this video probably already have him, but I just wanted to pick him up, basically. I think, like I said, he's probably the best asset in the game at the moment. He's the top player in the league by far for non-penalty expected goal involvement over the last 5 game weeks. Bournemouth themselves have the top stats for XG too, you know. As a team, as a whole, they're the best in the league over that period. And he's still got a decent set of upcoming fixtures as well. Judging by how Spurs have looked defensively, I didn't think they were very good against Everton. Could score in that game. He's got Fulham, could well score against Liverpool, and then West Ham and Nottingham Forest. I mean, 4 out of those 5 games he could feasibly score in, and he just ticks every box for a good FPL player. Nailed to start, plays 90 minutes and takes penalties. Just a great option. To be honest, I think the sky's the limit for Solanke at the moment. It seems to be in really good form, and the sky's the limit for his price as well, I'd say. Already up to 6.9 million. I think by the time game week 19 rolls around, he could easily be 7, maybe even more. But yeah, he's a fantastic option if you don't have him already. I'd say he's probably the best asset in the game at the moment. Next up then, I wanted to talk about Jarrod Bowen. Similar reasons really to Solanke. I think he just ticks all the boxes of a good FPL asset, except for the fact he doesn't take penalties, but he seemingly just gets chances against every level of opposition, you know. I wouldn't be surprised to see him score against Arsenal. Brighton have not kept a clean sheet yet, so there's a goal in that game. Sheffield United and Bournemouth after that. And Man United, who he's literally just scored against. So those fixtures coming up, wouldn't be surprised to see a goal in each of them. And he's just nailed to start for West Ham, isn't he, in the league? I expect him to play every game, and I expect him to do so for 90 minutes as well. One thing I've really noticed from Bowen, particularly over the last few seasons, is he is an absolutely elite finisher. He's one of 2 or 3 players in the league that consistently outdoes their own expected goal stats. You know, he's got 11 goals from 7.7 expected goals. And for me, with Bowen in particular, I wouldn't let that put me off. He is just such an elite finisher. His goals are only going to continue. Another West Ham player, probably not quite as good as Bowen, but I can't ignore him, but judging by how well he's done since he signed for West Ham, and that's Mohamed Kudus. Now, yeah, he's going under the radar a little, I would say. He's got 6 goals, 3 assists from 9 starts, so that's a return per start. And he started the last 8 games for West Ham in the Premier League. Obviously, when he first signed, wasn't getting into the first team, but now, yeah, I'd say he's nailed in that starting lineup. And 5.5% ownership. He's a nice little differential too. So if you're looking to make up a bit of ground over the festive period, then perhaps Mohamed Kudus is your man. And at 6.8 million, I think he comes at a nice price. Obviously, he has the same fixtures as Jarrod Bowen, so maybe the Arsenal one there is a bit tough, but wouldn't rule out a goal. And the next 4, I mean, could see him scoring in each of them. So, yeah, I really like him as an option, and of course, a differential to boot. Next up, we've got Eberiche Eze. Now, I haven't showed his expected points there because DraftHound hasn't quite realised that he's back in the starting lineup, but he returned from injury in game week 18 and played 20 minutes versus Brighton. I would say that he's probably expected to start against Chelsea, and when he does start, he's nailed to start for Palace, right, and play 90 minutes. He's on penalties and free kicks, and I'd say those 2 things alone mean he could score in pretty much any game. He's also, similar to Kudus, a nice differential, 2.8% owned, and I'd say every time I see him in that Palace team, he looks a threat. He either gets a chance or gets, you know, creates a lot of chances and a chance for an assist. And yeah, the numbers aren't that great, but I think with the fixtures he's got coming up, Chelsea, I mean, they could feasibly score against them. Brentford, same again. Arsenal's obviously a little bit tough, but I mean, 6 million, you could stick him on your bench for that week if you don't fancy him. And Sheffield United and Brighton, I could see some goals and assists for Eze over that run. And as I was saying with Bowen and Solanke, he just ticks all the boxes, you know, plays 90 minutes, guaranteed to start, takes the pens and the free kicks. A lovely option and a lovely player, and it's 6 million, dirt cheap. Now, I'm taking a little bit of a risk recording a video talking about the Arsenal defenders before the Arsenal and Liverpool game has actually concluded, but judging by the fixtures they've got coming up, regardless of how they actually get on against Liverpool, if, you know, they might pick up 1 or 2 injuries here, so ignore the players if they got injured, basically, but with the fixtures they've got coming up, I think the Arsenal defence are really decent options. They got really good clean sheet odds for at least the next 4 game weeks. West Ham at home, 50%. I know I've picked up Bowen and Kudus in previous slots, but you know, you couldn't rule out an Arsenal clean sheet, particularly at home against West Ham, then Fulham, Crystal Palace, Nottingham Forest. I mean, all three of those games, they could feasibly keep a clean sheet in. And obviously, these are the main four defenders. You've got Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, and Zinchenko. I'd probably say my favourite is Saliba. He's the most nailed, you know, probably. Well, let me know in the comments what you think, but I think Saliba's probably the best centre-back in world football at the moment. Ben White's probably my second favourite, just because you know, he's Arsenal's, well, Arteta's sort of favourite right back and probably is a little bit more attacking than Gabriel. I'd say between Gabriel and Zinchenko, it's quite close. I'd say both players are equally nailed in the starting lineup. Gabriel probably a bit more of a goal threat, but Zinchenko offers a bit more assist threat because basically he plays in the midfield for half the game. So yeah, that's my little rundown on the four Arsenal defenders. But I think with the four fixtures they've got coming up, obviously include Raya in there as a goalkeeper as well. Yeah, I really like them for some clean sheets. And to be honest, I don't see a defence with better clean sheet odds coming up over the next few weeks. So yeah, can't not talk about Arsenal defenders. Now, I wondered if you could do me a favour. If you're enjoying the video so far, please make sure to leave a like rating, subscribe to the channel as well, set the notification bell so you can see when I upload next. If you're really enjoying the video, please consider joining as a channel member. You'll get early access to all of my videos, and when I deadline stream, I'll give you priority when I rate people's teams in Draft Hound. You can also, if you want to support the channel in a different way, check out my shop down below. You can buy yourself a golden goal sticker or a mug. All right, back to the video. All right then, in terms of players to avoid, unfortunately, I think time is up for Lascelles now. He went off injured against Luton, and with Botman and Cher both being back fit, well, Cher was a doubt for Game Week 18, but he still played, and Botman's obviously back in the team now as well. I don't think Lascelles is going to be playing for Newcastle anymore, so I wanted to include this segment basically to thank Lascelles very much for his service in my team. I've owned him basically since he was starting for Newcastle, got me a goal and 5 clean sheets in that time, so I can't really ask for much more for a 4 million asset, but for me, and I imagine everyone else in the game, his time is unfortunately up. And the final little segment, it's not about selling these players just yet, right? But I needed to talk about Salah and Son, obviously ripping it up in the Premier League at the moment and two of the most popular assets in FPL. Unfortunately, obviously they're off to international tournaments, so I wanted to do a little bit of a segment talking about when may be the best time to sell them and potentially buy them back. So Rob T FPL on Twitter has put together a fantastic graphic talking about when each player is expected, well, depending on how far they get in the tournaments, expected to leave and come back. So basically both tournaments run in a similar fashion. So both players will miss Game Week 21 for the group stages. They might miss Game Week 22 as well if they're knocked out, just with a bit of travel time, etc. You know, they're unlikely, I would say, some risk of them not starting. If they get to the round of 16, they'll probably be back for Game Week 24. If they get to the quarterfinals, 25. And if they're finalists, expected to get back in Game Week 26. So it really is worth keeping tabs on how these players are doing in these tournaments. Basically, obviously, my videos will help you with that. But yeah, they're expected to miss Game Week 21, and I'd say Game Week 22 as well as a minimum. So both these guys are going to be off for a couple of weeks. And if they get to the final, Salah, I'd say Egypt, I don't know. We'll see how they get on. But I do expect South Korea to go really far in the Asia Cup. And to be honest, on paper, they're probably the strongest team. So we're likely to see Son out from Game Week 21 to 26. Salah, I'd imagine he's back sort of Game Week 23, 24 time, based on how I expect Egypt to do in the tournament. But we've got to be cognizant of these international tournaments coming up because they're only a couple of game weeks away. I'm not saying sell these players yet by any stretch. You know, their fixtures are decent. I mean, Salah's probably the best captain for Game Week 19, so I definitely wouldn't sell him for Game Week 19. But we've got to be cognizant of these fixtures or these tournaments coming up and have an eye on who is going to come in to replace them. Alright, and that's the end of the video. A bit of an insight there into my favourite players to buy and the players I'd be looking to avoid going into Game Week 19. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave me a like rating, subscribe to the Golden Goal channel, which should be around there, and I'll catch you in my next video.